Hello, and welcome to the Pink Table Talk podcast and blog. My name is Dana Johnson, and I am your host. And with me today is my special guest for the first episode, Jennifer Ott. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I appreciate so much that you are having this dialogue about breast cancer awareness and the need for people to know more and do more. Even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, thank you for my fabulous mask. I love it. But now more than ever, I think the conversation is really important. So thank you so much for putting this out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So, just a little bit about our backstory is Jennifer and I are both school moms at St. Monica, and I had the opportunity of hearing her as a guest speaker for the American Cancer Society. So, I'd like for her to just talk a little bit about a couple of questions that I have for her and why I thought that it was important that she was our first guest. So, I'll start with how did you become involved with your breast cancer awareness work?
So I know it's hard to hear with the mask, but, and I'm wearing my little ribbon pin here. I am a breast cancer survivor, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the very young age of 40. And my son at the time was 9 months old. And we can kind of get into that story, but it was, needless to say, it was life-changing. And through that experience, I became very involved with multiple organizations, feeling like I really needed to kind of take my experience and have it mean something, right? Because it changes your life. And so I've done a ton of volunteer work for a lot of organizations, Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition, Susan G. Komen, the oncology department at Columbia St. Mary's, which is now Ascension. And I'm currently on the leadership board for Wisconsin for the American Cancer Society.
Wonderful.
So I am very much an advocate for awareness, for funding for research, and for improved diagnostics and ultimately finding a cure, because I've been through all of those things, and there's just such a need for people to know more and be empowered to do more. So that has, we have a mutual mission.
Yes, and I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing your journey. And my second question to you is, what are your views on how funding is outsourced for breast cancer patients and research?
So it's a great question, and again, it's so personal to me as a survivor, to know what is happening out there. I will say that, because I am part of the American Cancer Society, I will say one of the statistics that they've shared recently is that if things continue as they are, funding for research and ultimately a cure is down about 50%, and will decline about 50% this year as a result of COVID-19 and changes to the economy. And so now more than ever, it's really, really important that people find a way to be engaged and involved. Research from organizations like those that I mentioned earlier is so vital. Grants are funded to research treatments, to research cures, and what a lot of folks don't realize is that advancements in one type of research for cancer fuels research advancements in all treatments for cancer. So something that might be discovered in researching a cure for a particular type of breast cancer can have an incredibly positive impact in research for treatments for all different forms of cancer, because of the nature in which cancer cells develop. So research is not just specific to one type, it can have an impact across the board, which is why it's so vital.
Yes, and I wholeheartedly agree. As you know, we've discussed on a couple of occasions that my journey through breast cancer awareness and advocacy goes back 17 years. I have not been diagnosed, and I am not a survivor. However, my mom passed in January of 2003, and from that point on, I kind of made it my passion, if you will, to be that voice and to be an advocate. And I've also served on some of the same boards that you've mentioned, and in a committee capacity as well.
Mhm.
So I've had the pleasure of beginning my journey as a team captain through Susan D. Coleman,
Mhm.
and that emerged into being chair for Kids for the Cure, and just continuing to bring awareness as well as just be like a big fundraiser so that people understand a lot of the things that you were saying in regards to how the research and what is needed in order to get to that hopeful cure.
Mhm.
Within my journey, I've also had the opportunity to work with the Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition.
Mhm.
And each April, I journey to Madison and meet with legislators, and there are a team of us. And if you'd like, you can take a look at the Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition website and on their Facebook page and do a little bit of research. I encourage you to do that. And you can see what they're all about. It is an organization that is dear to my heart because not only do they walk the walk, but they talk it too, because they each April go to Madison and they talk across the board and have the conversations that are real with the legislators in order to get down to the bills that need to be signed. So on last year, I had the opportunity to take it to another level,
Mhm.
and I was invited to go to the National Breast Cancer Coalition Summit.
Mhm.
It's a summit that takes place each May, and it exposed me to scientists and doctors and being able to see what their plight was and how their journeys are emerging in breast cancer. Most people signify breast cancer with April or with October because of the awareness month, and it's more than that. For me, it's an annual thing because there's so much that goes on that people need to talk about and needs to come to this table, and that's why this conversation emerged.
Mhm.
So I'm grateful that you were here to join me, and I'm thankful that you were my first guest, and I welcome you to come back again.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share as like a last thought for our audience?
I don't know how much, I know you're shooting, but I know that, you probably want more content to be able to edit. So, we can talk about my experience as a survivor. We can
Yes.
talk more about funding for research, because I'm on a medication that was discovered by
Okay.
research. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. So, another reason why I find funding and the need, for dollars to go to these organizations more immediately now, than ever. Let's start that over. One of the reasons why I think that it's so important that funding be part of the conversation, is that while we're seeing donations and funds diverted to other things right now as a result of the pandemic, it's so vitally important because cancer hasn't gone anywhere.
Exactly.
And I will say that I am a direct benefiter. Woo, that's not a good word. I have directly benefited from research that has found treatments and has been funded by the organizations we talked about. The American Cancer Society funded research that identified the drug tamoxifen, which I still take to this day to help prevent a recurrence of my cancer, and it actually helped to shrink my tumor while I was waiting for treatment. And so it's incredibly important that we keep this top of mind.
Exactly.
And the conversation about breast cancer is more than just research into a cure as well. What we're finding is that there are so many people who have delayed diagnostics as a result of the pandemic, not wanting to go and seek medical care, or not wanting to go get that lump checked out, or that funny feeling, because of not wanting to go to a hospital or a healthcare practitioner. Don't delay, don't wait, because what we will see is immediately what we've seen is a decline in breast cancer diagnoses, and it's not because breast cancer is going away, it's because people are not getting the diagnostics.
Exactly.
And what we will see then is more severe cases, more advanced cases of breast cancer, and we simply cannot have that. They're more difficult to treat, the mortality rate goes down, and it's a risk we cannot afford to take. So not only do I encourage people to find the extra dollars to contribute towards these organizations who fund research, but don't delay in diagnostics, because these organizations also will help you find a ride to treatment. They will help provide an adjunct to pay for your care. They will provide resources for you to be diagnosed. You cannot wait. It is so vitally important.
Exactly. And just a sidebar note, as I was speaking about the conversations that take place each April in Madison, I have noticed over the last 5 years, we are continuously talking about the Metastic bill, and it is still sitting in the House waiting to be signed. And for me personally, as well as the policy committee that I sit on, it's one of those, like, it's a no-brainer. Is like you said, that this is something that if we look at it from like a 6 degree separation thing, someone within your walk of life, whether it be your friend or family member, has been diagnosed. So to not have this at the forefront of the government and for them to sign it and pass it as a law so that the doctors can do the research that they need to do, so the scientists can do the research that they need to do, and the men and women who are encountering these symptoms and stage 4 breast cancer, that they can, just have better treatment and more access to care. So those are things that are passionate for me, and it continues to allow me to be able to get to a point where I know at some point we need to take it from we're walking to fight against breast cancer to actually like changing the narrative and finding out what are we going to do to get to that point of where it's eradicated.
Mm-hmm. You're so right, and your comments are so on point and so timely, especially when it comes to. I love that you say that the legislation, getting the legislation passed, is a no-brainer. What's challenging, I think, for so many people is they look at breast cancer and cancer as such a tall mountain to climb, right? It's been around for so long, we haven't found a cure that. It seems like an impossible accomplishment, and it's not. And advancements are being made in research every single day.
Yes.
Mortality rates in breast cancer are going down. We're seeing treatments improve every day for all forms of cancer, but especially breast cancer. And we're seeing what would have been, considered a death sentence even 10 years ago. Stage 4 metastatic breast cancer is now being treated as a chronic illness, like late stage diabetes or heart disease. These are things that women can live with if they're given the right treatment. And that's where funding comes in, and that's where the need for the appropriate legislation is so important, is because we need our healthcare providers to be given the ability to continue to advance.
Exactly.
And they're doing it. But, and you may not want to use this, but it's not sexy in the news, right? Sometimes we think that it's too difficult for someone to understand the advancements in research and the scientific nature of it, that it's easier to talk about something simple on the news. And so those really amazing things, these milestones that our researchers are achieving, aren't being talked about. And so the funding can go down because people don't realize that their dollars are making a difference. And so we always want to make sure that it's in the forefront of the conversation, and so that our legislators realize that every time they sign a bill that affords our researchers better opportunities to gain funding and to make those medical milestones happen, they're saving lives.
Exactly. How much more content do you need?
Okay, I'm gonna edit this part out. You guys sound good. Actually, it's almost perfect.
Okay, great.
See, but this is what I mean. For the average person who, and you guys sound like you are kind of immersed in the knowledge and the
Correct.
aspect of breast cancer.
Yes.
For the individual person who this may be their first introduction to it, what I need you to do, and if it's okay with you, is to kind of explain that the process of going through breast cancer is a journey that women and some men have to undertake unwittingly. The journey as a process is like understanding one day you did not have a diagnosis, and the next day you became aware of something that needed to be checked out, and then you got diagnosed. Those changes, I would like you to kind of explain your story. This is my story as a survivor, but in order to survive, I had to first get introduced to the reality that I'm a breast cancer, victim. And this is my track for discovery, how I found out about it, how it affected my relationship with my husband, how I was able to cope with it emotionally. Did I feel like I was doomed, or what were my opportunities and outreaches that helped me get to where I am now? I'd like for you to kind of like espouse on that a little bit.
Sure.
I
At
have
the
the
beginning.
perfect idea.
Huh?
I have the perfect idea.
Okay.
So when we first got together, and I asked you about like your journey,
Mhm.
and the one thing that I literally like took a note about it is when you were saying that you should not have been a statistic for
Mhm.
breast cancer
Oh, yeah.
because of your family. So
Sure.
so tell that story, and I think that will address like everything from like when
Sure.
you looked at, you know, like your family
Sure.
lineage, and it
Sure.
should not have been you,
Sure.
and then it was, and then how you and Chris handled it like
Sure.
right after. So yeah,
Sure.
I would
Okay.
say do that.
Why don't you premise it with,
Okay.
you know, please share more of your story as a survivor,
Okay.
or a question like that, lead in.
Okay.
Okay.
So at this point in our conversation, I would just like to ask you if you can share more about your personal story.
Of course. So, I was 40 years old. I had just turned 40, and which is young in breast cancer age. Let's just get that out there. And my son was 9 months old at the time. And what had happened is, you know, I really had no expectation of thinking that I could ever have breast cancer, right? I was in that mindset where most people are like, that happens to other people. And, you know, I didn't have a family history. I had no risk factors associated with it. I just had a baby. And yet I found a lump in my left breast, and it felt strange. And, you know, I kind of went through that mindset that I think everybody goes through when they first find something that sounds or feels abnormal. It'll go away. It's nothing. And it didn't go away. And so I went to my doctor and I said, you know, this feels kind of weird. And again, you know what it's like. I had a baby. Weird things happen to your bodies, ladies, when you have a
Yes.
baby. Good things, but weird things. And so, you know, the doctor said, I'm sure it just has something, you know, it's just related to your breastfeeding, but let's get it checked out. Series of tests later, diagnostics that were very important for me to have, reluctantly, but I did. And yeah, turns out I had breast cancer. And you know, the oddity is they did a lot of blood work because of my age and because of the lack of risk factors, and I had about, it seems, a 1% chance of getting breast cancer. Those were my odds. And I still got it. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that no one is immune. You know, breast cancer does not discriminate. And if you feel that weirdness, if you feel something off, advocate for yourself and go and get it checked out. And so, you know, I did that, and my husband and I had to go through so much together to kind of deal with that, especially having such a young one at home. And you know, my husband Chris, he's amazing, and I think it's so important to have such a good support network.
Exactly.
And our caregivers, as you know, as a family member who's lost somebody so blessed and important to you, that sometimes I think, you know, it wasn't supposed to be me, right? Because
Right.
the statistics told me
Exactly.
it wouldn't be me. But at the same time, I said, you know, I'm glad that it was me, because watching someone I love go through it is so difficult. I can't imagine it. But so I was glad that I was going through it instead of somebody that I love. But we did a lot of crying, we did a lot of talking, we did a couple things might have been thrown, you know, a little bit of anger there, like why, but really I think we just focused on what needed to be done. And the unusual piece is because of where I was in nursing Ethan, I had to wait about 6 weeks to be fully diagnosed. They didn't know how advanced my cancer was, which 6 weeks felt like 6 years.
Yes.
And so during that time, I was blessed, as I mentioned earlier, to be taking a medication called tamoxifen that was found by funding, you know, research that helped to shrink the size of my tumor while I was waiting for my full diagnoses. And and I finally was diagnosed as stage 2. I had a 4.5 centimeter lump in my left breast. Thankfully, it had not spread to my right breast. It had spread out of my duct, so it was invasive. Fast forward through 12 weeks of chemotherapy, 7.5 weeks of radiation, surgeries, and so on,
And being a new mother.
and being a new mom.
Yeah.
The recovery was a long road, but I guess if I were to talk to any person who's just been diagnosed or an early survivor, is you can do this. It's not easy, but you can do this. And to look at my life before and after, there is a richness and a beauty to my life experience, having gone through that, not because the experience itself was wonderful, because it was not, but the gift of being able to do this,
Yes.
and the gift of being able to share this story with other people, and to embrace life in a new way is an inexplicable blessing.
Well, thank you for sharing, and I'm honored and humbled by the fact that you accepted the invitation to be our first guest at the Pink Table Talk.
You
Thank
can't
you.
see me, I'm smiling behind my mask, but you can have me anytime.
I appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so,
I gave you more content than you probably
no,
needed.
this is perfect. What I'm trying to do now is I'm like piecing it together as to the sequence of editing, that I put this at the front end and the back, and she closed on the back end of this conversation,
Mhm.
which is basically something I might move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So what I need you to do, Dana, is to give me a close, looking in the camera, and, okay, that's our time for the day. I'm Dana Johnson, thank you, your guest, and talk about what's coming up, or give some preface to what you believe is coming up.
Okay. Do I talk about like the next guest or?
Well, you don't have to talk about the next guest, but
Okay.
these are some of the things that are coming up. We'll be talking to additional guests.
Okay.
That way, if you don't name anybody,
Right,
you don't lock
right,
yourself in.
right,
So we'll be
okay.
talking to additional guests. Look forward to the launch of our website.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a lot of things socially. It's all about engaging and bringing you into the conversation.
Okay.
So the tagline is,
And then launching the blog
yeah,
to that as well.
all
Okay.
that. So
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your time and for being a part of the Pink Table Talks first conversation with my guest, Jennifer Ott. And please look forward to the launch of our website and future conversations that will take place with renowned doctors from the Medical College of Wisconsin, scientists from across the country, and look forward to following us not only on Facebook, but Instagram and Twitter, where you'll find different perspectives, if you will, from the conversations that we are having here today and within the future. I don't like that. I don't like how I said it. I don't like what I said.
Okay,
I don't know what to
you started off timid.
Okay, because I feel nervous.
Well, don't be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about.
Okay.
You should have a conversation. The idea of it is that now you want to give a strong close. You want to say,
Okay.
look in the camera and say, you can start like saying, thank you, Jennifer.
Okay.
For appearing with us. And that gives my tie-in, that gives my
Okay.
marker. So
Okay.
you said, thank you, Jennifer, for appearing with us. We finally got the first episode of, Pink Table Talk Underground. I want to thank you, and pivot to the camera. I want to
Okay.
thank you for joining us today.
Okay.
In the future, we have this, that, and other thing. You got to go through
Okay.
that whole synopsis of
Okay. Okay.
just that we have some
Some-
important things in store for you.
Okay.
So join us online. We'll be launching our website really soon. It's Pink is
Mhm.
thepinktabletalk.org.
Okay.
On there, we're going to have a lot of things. We're going to have a forum. We're going to have a blog. we're gonna have news, there's a lot of stuff that we're gonna be offering.
Once we do a TED Talk.
So,
Should.
it's, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
breathe,
Okay, I forgot where I'm starting.
breathe, keep it tight,
Okay.
and just talk and say, first you wanna thank me,
Okay.
and you wanna close the episode, and look in the camera and tell them, thank you for being here, here's what you have to look forward to,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you, Jennifer, for agreeing to be our first guest with the Pink Table Talk. I'm very honored and privileged to have you here with me today.
Thank you.
Please look forward to continued conversations with the Pink Table Talk, and as we launch our website, thepinktabletalk.org. I forgot what
Okay,
else
no,
I was supposed to say.
okay, I don't wanna do a jump cut.
Okay, because I forgot what else I was
No,
supposed to
no,
say. I
I
blanked.
No, that was good.
Okay.
When you blanked out as to like, we look forward to, we're very excited. So
Okay,
we say, it's one thing to say, we look forward to launching our website,
right.
pinktabletop.org.
Okay, we're very
Duh,
excited.
But like I
Right,
said,
right,
we're
right.
excited and we have so much stuff in
Okay.
store for you, and you got to emote that
Okay,
to try to get that
Okay.
situation. You're excited about it, you're just not saying it
I
now.
am. I'm just, okay,
But understand, this is not live television,
okay.
so you're not making a fool out of yourself
Okay.
at all.
Mm-mm.
Okay?
Okay,
So what
because
you
I
just
feel
got to
like
do-
my heart
You
is
just
like
got to just, no,
on
what I'm
10.
saying is, you talk, okay, because I talk a lot.
Okay,
And you're the first person that I've dealt with in a long time that I've been like, okay, I could just hang up because she's just going at it every middle night. And I'm like, you cannot out-talk me, but I'm getting tired of listening to your thoughts, okay? Because you think
That
there's
was
a
our
constant
neighbor
stream of thought.
the other
Very
day
nice.
to go through this, and he was
Very
like, "Oh my God, just discovered you talk as much as me," and I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry."
Oh, you're funny, you're so funny.
And that's the whole thing. It's a constant stream of thought, but you know how to
Okay.
and this is what's important, okay? As you get involved in this and you become an influencer within the brand, people will always look at you of being at least open-minded enough to engage them.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the whole idea of engaging people is not necessarily having a script,
Mhm.
but just knowing what you want,
Should I
what you know.
post this now?
No. don't
Okay.
close it.
Needs continuity.
Okay.
Right, because I don't want it to all of a
Okay.
sudden be there and then it's not.
Right. Okay.
So, you just emote, like, I'm really excited for you guys joining us today. We got a lot of things to look forward to in the future. Be aware we're getting ready to launch a website. We're gonna have a lot of things in it. You're gonna have a blog, we're gonna have photo gallery. We're gonna bring this thing to you. This is your platform. This is your voice. Emphasize that the Pink Table Talk is your voice,
Okay.
namely the people who are looking. This is your voice
Okay.
inside the world of, we're more than pink ribbons.
Okay.
We're real life, okay? And that way it'll convey a lot more because the way you package it
Mhm.
is how it comes across. You guys did a good take in terms of the episode, the interview. It was literally perfect. There were things that you said, I could take 10 seconds off here and move this. You end up just kind of like fading in and fading out. Now you just kind of have to bundle it. I'm at 28 minutes right now.
Okay.
So of that 28 minutes, are probably a good 25, a good 20, 24 minutes is good solid information. I
Okay.
don't want to make it past 30 minutes long because the attention span is not that great.
Right.
And if I had to do it as part one and part two, then that's something I have to look at, namely with the personal side, that might be part two of the conversation.
Okay.
But when I break it up, it
I feel like
determines
I
as to,
listen to a 25 minutes. Don't you?
you said what now?
It depends,
Just
it really depends.
Just from, because I've been looking at like a couple of different podcasts, like just over the last few weeks, and they span like in different,
But it's, okay, so let me explain something. There's a big difference in what people do
right.
and how the psychology of distributing it online.
Okay.
Okay, we are a new info society.
Okay.
Our attention span is 3.5 seconds on
Mhm.
average.
Okay.
We go through about 4,000 impressions daily on the
Okay.
internet, and you don't even know. The average person is on social media 3 hours a day, and they don't even realize it.
Wow.
But the point of it is that they're not looking at one thing for 3 hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The only time you get people's attention is that you get their engagement because they now anticipate. It's like going to a concert.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm going to a performance. I don't know what they're singing. I don't know what they're doing. I just know that they're showing up, and I need to dedicate my time to be there at 8:30, because that's when the show starts. I don't know how long it's gonna go. I don't know how long it's gonna end, but I'm engaged. The engagement is to get them there.
Okay,
The question is, you don't wanna bore them
right,
on the pretense of not what you're saying isn't okay, but the timing. And I watch hundreds of webinars constantly. And I can go on every average webinar, run you an hour, 45 minutes to an hour and a half. But I can get 30 minutes in, and I'm like, get to the pitch.
Yep.
Tell me what it is that you're trying to sell me. Let me know whether it's worth me buying it so I can move on to the next thing.
okay,
And that's what I don't want that happening.
Keep in mind that TED Talks are 10 to 15 minutes max.
Exactly.
okay,
And remember the old adage, be brilliant, be brief, be gone.
okay, okay, you may have to, just to,
You got me, girl, whatever you need from me, you got me. You got me. This
So
is not my
you need
first
to pep
rodeo.
talk.
I'm good.
Again, thanks, Jennifer, for
Okay.
showing up
Oh,
on
yeah,
the first
we're
episode.
getting
This is gonna
close
wrap
to
up, no, this is,
the time.
thank you, Jennifer, for showing up
Okay.
on the first episode. This is gonna wrap up our first episode.
Okay,
You know, and then you got to say, well, this is the, you know, the end. Thank you for, no, don't even say thank you for joining me at my first episode.
okay,
You said thank you for joining us. This will then wrap up our first episode of
definitely.
Pink Table Talk. I got a lot of, and said, we want to thank, and then you go to thank us, the audience. I want to thank you for joining us too. We have a lot of things in store for you. Now is the time that we've created the perfect situation to add you to the mix, come to the table, and you know, all that stuff. You can just ad lib on that end. It's not the most critical thing because it's the first one. We'll be able to button down and close
Okay,
for the subsequent episodes. And that
Okay.
way, your leads are gonna be consistent, your closes are gonna be consistent. It's like,
Okay.
you know, back in our day when Don King said, you know, they dancing on the floor and he said, you know, this is love, peace, and soul. You know, when he says that, it's a wrap after that.
Right.
Commercial, and it's, you know, you're going somewhere else. So, you know,
It-
you got to do the soul train thing, but what I'm
okay.
just
It literally
saying-
made me think of Russell Simmons because he is so like, not outspoken, but very like powerful. And he produced Def Comedy Jam, and
Mhm.
his thing was, thank you, good night. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so significant that people remember that. Like the
Mhm.
host would come out and do all this stuff.
Yep.
And they'd be like, and now Russell, do you have a few words? In every episode, he'd be like, thank you, good night. And he'd just leave. But it was significant because you knew
That wrapped the episode.
that wrapped it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so I will say thank you, Jennifer. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being my guest with the Pink Table Talk.
Thank you.
I'm humbled and honored by the fact that you accepted my invitation. And now to you, audience. Thank you for, okay, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to say now to you, audience. Okay, okay.
That was corny.
I know. After I said it, I was like, oh my God.
You did.
After I said it, I was like, oh my God.
So, no, what I want you to do, I want you to inflect. I want you to say, well, thank you, Jennifer, for,
Okay.
you know, being our first guest today.
Okay.
That reminds me, this wraps up our first episode of Pink Table Talk.
Okay.
We have a lot of things excited, you know, in store and excited to share with you guys. We just want you to support us, come on board, look forward to us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all that kind of stuff. And that's it. Thank you and good night.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for being my guest for our first episode of the Pink Table Talk.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience, for joining us with the conversation.
You did audience.
Oh my God, I keep saying audience. Thank you for
Just
joining
thank
us in
you,
the
yeah.
conversation.
Yes.
Can I say that? Thank you for joining us in the conversation.
Because
Okay.
the audience means that you got.
That
a
is
whole
somebody
row
in the
of
audience, right? I
people.
know,
Right,
I know. I'm
right,
having
right,
my,
right.
I'm having my own moment. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being our guest on the Pink Table Talk.
Thank you.
I'm humbled and honored that you accepted the invitation.
Of course.
And thank you for joining us. Oh my God, I blanked again. Oh my God, this is gonna be horrible. Okay.
No, it's not. Okay, you're
I
in your head.
cannot rap.
No,
I
no, no. Look at me.
cannot rap.
Look at me. You're in your head.
Okay.
Get out of your head. What you need to do is you need to think about, we just finished a conversation, okay? Think about anybody who's viewing this, okay, they're done, they're walking to their car,
Okay.
you're wrapping it up. So you wanna say, thank you, like, you thanking me, you do well. You wanna look at them and say, they're walking to their car, they're getting ready to move on to the next video, so you're like, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad to be able to bring this information to you. We have so much more coming. Please visit us on our website, stick around for more content. There's so much coming. I'm so excited to bring this to you. Thank you for being here today. I look forward to bringing more to the pink table.
Okay.
So one of these is conversation. So when you thank her, don't thank her for being here. Thank her for the conversation,
Okay,
okay?
okay,
Thank you, Jennifer, for being the first guest on the conversation, whatever you want to say. Thank you for the conversation. This is what this is all about, us having an open discussion about what it is. And with that said, this concludes our first session of Pink Table Talk.
okay.
You know, we have many things in store for you to come. Follow us online, follow us on Facebook. Thank you and good night. Something like that, just button it down.
Have a conversation with me. Forget the camera. Just have a conversation.
Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us in the conversation at the Pink Table Talk.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I am humbled and honored that you accepted that. Or no, oh my God, why do I keep saying that? Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being my guest at the Pink Table Talk. I'm humbled and honored that you would,
Forget about being humbled and
Yeah,
honored.
yeah, that's what you.
Okay, that's what's
stuck
killing
with.
it.
Tripping you
That's
up.
what's killing
What
Forget
you
about
do,
humbled and
just
honored.
like, thank
Okay.
you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation.
Conversation,
Thank
okay.
you, Jennifer, for
Okay.
being
Okay.
a part of the conversation.
Okay.
With that said, that wraps up the first episode of Pink Table Talk. Then
Okay.
you just feel it. So thank
Okay.
you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation. With that being said,
Okay,
that wraps up the first episode of the Pink Table Talk.
okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation. And with that, wraps up the first episode of the Pink Table Talk. Please look forward to our website, thepinktabletalk.org, coming to you soon, as well as taking an opportunity to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you and good night. Okay, it's me.
No, it's
Honey, it's your first episode.
Yeah, right. No, but here's what I'm saying. What you're doing is you're thinking, and I can see you thinking.
Yeah.
Okay? Anytime that you stop and hesitate as a pause,
Mm-hmm.
that's your little wheels going on around your head trying to figure out what you're getting ready to say next.
Uh-huh.
If you're talking to somebody,
Okay.
you generally just have an open thought of communication. You don't think about saying the right thing. You
Right.
don't think about saying the wrong thing. You're talking to people. This is a
Right.
conversation. You're not this is not a movie script
Okay.
that you forgetting a line.
Okay.
You don't have a line.
Okay.
You just have expression. So
Okay.
when you're telling her, thank you for being a part of the conversation. And with that said, we want to thank you. This will wrap up our first episode of Pink Table Talk. Please look forward to us of our launch of our website, pinktabletalk.org. We have a lot of things in store for you guys. We want to invite you in to be a part of the conversation. And until then, thank you and good night. I'm not eating the Pink Table Talk.
Okay.
Conversation.
Thank you, Jennifer, for joining me for the conversation.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll wrap. Oh my God, I'm
It's okay.
I cannot.
It's
I cannot. I
It's
cannot.
okay. It's okay.
I
It's okay.
cannot.
It's okay. Okay, do.
I honestly don't even know what to say.
No, don't.
Every time I look at the camera, I blink.
Well, you're not looking at the camera. This is
I
just
know,
the
but I
back
keep
of a.
blinking. When I turn my head, it all
So
goes
talk to
blank.
him. Talk to him. Don't talk to the camera. Talk to him.
Okay. Okay, so, and with that, I'd like to wrap up the first episode of the Pink Table Talk.
Right, okay,
that what
so
I'm
yeah,
saying?
it's a transition.
Okay,
Thank you, Jennifer, for being part of the first conversation.
okay,
And with that said, that will bring us, that's a wrap, you know, I'd say.
Okay,
You know,
okay,
The
your
first
words.
conversation, and with that said, that brings us, you know, to the end of our first episode.
okay.
And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna, you know, invite you to follow
I
us
think I got
online.
the end. It's the transition from the
Yeah,
conversation to,
Right.
okay, so. Thank you, Jennifer, for being part of the conversation. And with that, I'd like to wrap. I'm just trying to make it more conversational, so it doesn't
So-
seem like
Yeah,
I'm
so
in
what
my
We
head,
can do
like
them.
I was.
Yeah.
We can do them, start talking.
I know, but I
Take
gotta
your second.
make I don't know, it's
So,
the same thing,
okay,
it's
so-
bothering me. Cause I don't want it to sound.
Okay, watch me,
weird.
all right? Jennifer, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. And with that, that wraps our first episode of the Pink Table Talk. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the conversation.
Okay,
We're
okay.
so excited to launch our new website, thepinktabletop.org. We have so much incredible content coming your way. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and wait for more. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Okay? Breathe.
Okay, all right, wait, I feel like I just lost it. All right, I'm gonna have like-
You're good.
in the
It's you,
conversation.
it's you.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining me in the conversation
Thank
in
you.
regards to breast cancer advocacy and awareness. And with that, we wrap our first episode of the Pink Table Talk. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. And please look forward to our website, thepinktabletalk.org. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And there's so much more that we have in regards to content that's coming your way soon. Thank you and good night.
Okay. That's okay.
Okay. I'll get better.
No. Here's what I'm saying. I want you to
I'm so
make me
nervous.
feel that you are excited about what you're doing.
Be excited.
So when you say, thank you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation, and with that said, this will be a wrap up of our first episode of Pink Table Talk. I am so excited.
Okay.
We have a lot in store for you.
So do I have to do the thank you thing again, or can I just do just that last
No,
one?
because I don't want to jump cut. Jump cuts is when you take it and people
Okay.
take the uhs out of, and they,
Okay,
I don't want to do that.
okay, okay.
Oprah don't do it. You
I
can do it.
know. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation for our first episode of the Pink Table Talk.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to wrap on this conversation and thank you for being a part of this. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to wrap for our first episode of the Pink Table Talk. I'm so excited to have you here with me today and look forward to having you. Oh my God. Okay.
I like the excitement though.
Okay. I'm getting there. I'm
It's
getting
really
there. I'm
good.
getting
It's
there.
really good.
Yeah, you were kind of, so you got to kind of bring that excitement
Okay, I'm getting
in the
there.
beginning,
Mhm.
because it was kind of startling. You kind of
Okay,
like,
I'm
Parker,
getting there.
I'm so excited. It's like,
I know.
where did that come from?
I know.
So,
I'm getting there. I'm
let's
getting there. I'm
keep it
getting there. I'm
level.
getting there. I'm getting
You know,
there.
thanks, Jennifer. I'm so excited to be there. And with that said, you said that, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation with us today.
Thank you.
And with that, we'd like to wrap on our first episode of the pinktabletalk.org. Please look forward to following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, the exciting news is that our launch of our website, thepinktabletalk.org. I look forward to having you continue these conversations with us and joining us. Thank you and good night. I blanked. That's why I didn't. I cut it like that. I blanked.
I mean, I can use it, but it's kind of like.
I know.
It's
It'll
like
get
air out
better.
of
But I don't
balloon.
want to. I know she's got other things.
No,
so I don't
no,
wanna-
No, you're good. We're good on time. Don't worry.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay.
Just one more. I mean,
Okay.
and let me say this.
Okay.
It's natural what you're going through right
Okay.
now. I mean, I've said in my laboratory, that's what I call it, laboratory,
Mhm.
and did, I think I counted 59 takes
Okay.
of an audio
Okay.
voiceover. 59
Okay.
in a row.
Okay.
Drove me crazy.
Okay.
But every one I did, I'm like, this is the last time I'm doing it because I'm not gonna mess up.
Right.
Okay. You're basically have a paragraph to close.
Okay.
And if you were on stage or any other place where you were in front of a whole bunch of people and you couldn't necessarily rewind it and do it over, do it that way that you would do it. And you go out there and just relax and you walk through. People that have stage presence
Mhm.
aren't thinking about the people in front of them.
Okay.
They're just thinking about what they're trying to say.
Okay.
And talk to yourself and just say, if I had to say this to myself, how would I sound and how would I sound good?
Okay.
And just wrap it up. You don't have to go through a whole dialogue,
Okay.
dissertation. Just said, we're excited about the launch of a new website, pinktabletop.org. We have a lot of things in store for you to come follow us.
Okay.
You ain't got to go through
Okay.
no litany of stuff
Okay.
that's coming.
Thank you, Jennifer, for being my first guest at the Pink Table Talk.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
You ain't gonna get it, you done, you're fried.
Okay, no. Okay,
You're fried.
okay.
Here we go.
Okay. You're traveling. You say like you're gonna get some.
Yep, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be fine.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us for the conversation of the Pink Table Talk.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to thank you as well for being our guest and having a seat at the table alongside us. I look forward to the release of my website. No, of our website?
Never
Or,
speak
I'm not,
of
okay.
anything in
Okay,
the
so now
personal
look forward.
pronoun because it's
Okay.
possessive.
Please
No.
look forward to.
Yeah, just
Okay.
like I said, here
Okay.
what I want you to do. You're thinking, stop thinking.
I know.
Okay, don't think about what you're trying to say, just say what you feel.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen, for coming out, being a part of the first conversation with and then with that, we're gonna come to a close on this.
Okay.
We wanna introduce our website, it's coming soon, there's a lot of things, we're so excited, see you very soon.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a part of the conversation today.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to bring our conversation to a close and thank you for joining us at the Pink Table Talk. I'm so excited of the release of our website, thepinktabletalk.org. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Good night. That's all I